Hey everybody, BobbySapphire here with TheHyperloops.com. I want to talk about an exciting new spoiler that we got from FFG this week. Arihnda Pryce, unscrupulous governor. It's a great word. So what she does that's most important is that she brings villain special chaining to the game. That's something villains have lacked thus far. And that's the general concept. So we could just go over her card. She's a 10 health, 10 point, 13 for elite character, red, and her dice sides are 2 melee, which is kind of crazy, 1 discard, 1 resource, and 2 special sides and a blank. And the special says, turn another one of your dice to any side. If you control the battlefield, you may resolve that die, increasing its value by 1. So that's crazy for a number of reasons. Early in the game, you can just straight up resolve that for resources to get an additional resource. Say if you start the game, it might be a reason to start the game at the battlefield. It works really well with discard to get an increased discard side, which she has, which can be really good. And then that 2 melee side, flipping that to the 2 melee side. And again, if you have the battlefield, being able to turn that to a 3x is just pretty crazy. She's really strong. But one of the things that we need to do is take a look at every single villain and neutral card that have special sides. And if you look to the left of Arihnda Pryce's card, you'll see that I have isolated every single villain special die card that there is. Unless there's some coding on Destiny DB that messed it up. That's all of them. So you see 47 upgrades. And that's not what I want. Oh no, God. 17 supports, and we have what's that? 12, 15 different 14 different characters. I can count. I'm having a coffee, guys. 14 different characters with special sides, and some of them are trash, like Bib Fortuna. We're never going to special chain Arihnda into Bib to roll out Arihnda again. And probably not chaining into Lobot, who just lets us resolve something for +1 when we can already do that with Arinda's game text. We control the battlefield. But there are some cards I want to go through today that I've targeted that I think are really, really strong with Arihnda. So I'm going to do that now. And we're going to do that using TTS. So this is the first, the characters and battlefield that I'm most interested in. So Emperor's Throne Room, one of the most famous battlefields and powerful. Turn one of your dice to a side showing special ability, then you may resolve that die. If you claim this and use it to turn one of Arihnda's dice to special, and what's also great about her die is that it has 2 specials, so you can claim one special and still turn it to the other special. You can then use Arinda's special ability, which you can see there, to turn a die to any side and then immediately resolve it for +1. So if her dice are in the pool, or say if both her dice are in the pool and they're both on blank, you can claim Throne Room to resolve one special into the 3x, because you'll control the battlefield when that die resolves, when her special side resolves. So that makes the Emperor's Throne Room a very interesting inclusion for any price deck. The next card, the one I'm probably most excited about to try, is Darth Vader, Dark Apprentice, Anakin. So he's a 13-17, which fits perfectly with Arihnda, and he has a special that's deal 3 damage and then deal 1 damage to this character, which is fine. I mean, because of Arihnda, if you didn't have the battlefield, turning it to that special is great. If you do have the battlefield, you'll never have to resolve that side, because you can just turn the 3 melee, the 2 melee into a 3 melee, and do the same amount of damage without taking 1 yourself. And if you have the resource, you can even turn, to the 3x and make that a 4x to hit really, really hard. So I think that that's a really interesting pairing for her. She's a Yoda-like support character for a beat stick like Darth Vader, Dark Apprentice. The other one I'm sure a lot of people are excited for is to have a villain version of Hondo. So Pryce Hondo, he's obviously got his special, so we can chain into his special to do the 3 damage, just like everyone knows about Yoda Hondo and Poe Hondo. And then obviously if we control the battlefield, because we'll be special chaining, we should be a little faster. Being able to disrupt 3, being able to discard 2, being able to focus 2, these kinds of things are amazing. And then also in a Hondo deck, you might play Cunning. So, then there's the ability to special chain into Cunning, which could steal somebody else's crazy ability, like Darth Vader's, or a Light Bow, just any of those effects. It just makes villain Hondo not only possible, but potentially really good. And I really struggled to find a third character that really fit with her points, because IG-88 is too expensive, and Grand Inquisitor is too expensive, and then Bazine doesn't really fit with any like really nice 4 dice 3 character start. I mean, you could do 13 Arihnda and 7 Pryce, and then do a 10-pointer, like maybe Captain Phasma. But there wasn't a super great blue option that I liked. Kylo 1, I think is 10. So there is that, but the next one I thought was really interesting was Boba Fett Deadly Mercenary. And of course we can't cover all, 75, 85 of these cards, whatever. So what I like about this is that you have the special chaining 2 ways. You can chain Boba Fett into a special to do some damage on like a die that's already out there. Or if Boba Fett's already showing a special, you can use Arihnda to turn a die to a side that's showing damage, and then throw that with Boba Fett, which is really interesting. You can't, if you have the battlefield, if you see the game text there, you may resolve that die increasing by 1. That would be tethered to Arihnda, so you wouldn't be able to like turn her. If you had the battlefield, you can't do like super sneaky turn her die to the 2x and throw it with Boba Fett and then resolve it immediately. So there would be that separation, but it's still, it works 2 different ways. And then, of course, if you already have the battlefield and you just want to turn his die to a 3x or a 3 ranged, he just has a nice die to go along with Arihnda's ability, whether you're special chaining or you're just increasing those 2 damage sides, which is really nice. And I guess I wasn't thinking of it because the cards weren't loading on Star Wars Destiny DB, but I guess you could use her with Sebulba and have, maybe just one of his dice. So he'd be 9. So you could do 13, 9 is 22, and then an 8-pointer, possibly like a blue 8-pointer to have a rainbow pod racing deck. And Arihnda would allow you to resolve that Sebulba special early to get the pod race finished, and then be able to, use the battlefield ability to like turn his damage sets into 3. So we could see a Pryce pod racer deck as well. That card's not in TTS, so that's sort of where I was dealing with why I didn't include it, but glad I thought of it. So here are some upgrades. Now, these are ones, obviously there are cards like Force Wave that you're like, oh my god, she works really well with Force Wave. This video is more about like what cards could she bring to the forefront that haven't necessarily been in the forefront, specifically ones with like single special sides like you'll see here. I couldn't really find a good red option for her. Like IQA works because you can turn it into the special side of 3 unblock. Like you could do 2 unblockable, or you could turn it to the 3 ranged. So that could have been an include, but it just wasn't high on the list of things I wanted to talk about. One is the Kylo Ren's lightsaber. I like this special side is kind of broken, especially in the current meta where there's tons of shields everywhere. So I thought special chaining it to that and being able to re-roll back into the pool is pretty sick, especially if you have multiple special sides or the throne room where you want to be able to just use it again on the next action because you can't resolve the same die twice in a special chain. And then, of course, you can just focus this to the 3x, and if you have the battlefield, resolve it for 4, which I thought was really sweet. It's just an overall powerful weapon. Jetpack, this one is a little sketchy because, I love the ability to remove melee damage and get a shield. We've been doing that in things like Yoda Zeb or Pew Pew, just like it works really well with Zeb. It doesn't necessarily combo with Arihnda with her melee side, but the two range and the 3 range are very good in the right deck, and you could find the right spot for that. But being able to special chain to remove or special chain to get 3 shields if you have the battlefield, I thought was pretty interesting. The next one I want to talk about was Holocron, and obviously Holocron used to be really popular. It's not so popular right now, and you already have a decent shot with two special sides of hitting the special side on Holocron, which is good. What I like here is all right. So I have a Holocron on a special. I have a Arihnda on a special. I'm gonna resolve Holocron. I'm gonna put a Force Lightning into play, or a Force Throw, or a Mind Probe, and then no matter what it rolls, even if it whiffs on the special, you can use Arinda's die to resolve that special to special chain into whatever you just rolled in. So you can hit that Mind Probe, you can hit the Force Throw, whatever you want to do. It just gives that it just adds that consistency of having that blowout play. And then obviously, like, if you just really need to hit the Holocron, it's just special chaining at its best. The other blue ones that I want to talk about, like Force Rend, this could be like a really good control card where you can focus her into removing an upgrade or support, but also has a 2 range side, which if you have the battlefield can turn to 3, or if you claim with Throne Room. And then Force Push also has a 2 discard side, plus the 2 range sides, plus the special sides. So it can be defensive, it can be offensive, or you could potentially hit their hand for 3. It could be a really savage claim, like in a special chaining deck. All right, I'm going to claim, and I'm going to discard the last 3 cards in your hand. Have fun. See you next turn. And the other one I thought might be interesting is Con Artist in a mill deck, in a 3-character mill deck with Pryce. It too, like she, has a discard side, but also being able to disrupt 3 could be really, really strong against, like a vehicles deck. Again, these are just some. What's funny is that you would think that villain would have more powerful specials out there, because there's no special chaining there. But I almost feel like heroes not only have special chaining, but have way better cards to special chain too, like Pose Blaster and like Light Bow are both really good. And of course, like I mentioned earlier with Hondo, like Cunning's a good one, Crossguard Saber. There are a bunch, and you can look at that comprehensive list of a bunch of different cards. I just wanted to highlight a few that I thought were kind of interesting. I also think like Wrist Rockets is pretty interesting. I didn't go and grab that one though. And I want to just mention a few supports that I think. So these supports are very, very low played, if not never played supports. So one thing that no one's really gotten to work is the Separatist Landing Craft. One of the reasons is because it just has that one special side, which makes it kind of weak. But with Arihnda Pryce, you can really pump out those droids. Like, you have a much better chance of hitting that special. She adds a 50% chance of rolling the special if you have her elite. And then if you don't want to be pumping out droids, or maybe you have enough, you can be putting 3 shields on your guys. Or just like getting those extra resources. It's not a terrible upgrade for like a slow supporty kind of deck, regardless. One card that's really gone away after like initial hype is Kylo Ren Starfighter. And one of the things I like about here, so reveal an opponent's hand and deal indirect damage to them equal to the number of cards in their hand that match the chosen color. So against a mono deck, this is really strong. Potentially having, people take upwards of 5 damage in their Sabine deck or their Rey Ayla deck. Stairs. What I like here is that if you're playing a rainbow deck and it's slower than you, you can still turn this to a 3 range side by using her ability and getting its increased value +1. Plus it costs 2. I've always thought that playing this in an otherwise non-vehicle deck with Weapons Factory Alpha would be like a really savage 1-cost support to play and just to have out all game. The problem is vehicles has been so good and so ubiquitous that it's really dangerous for any non-vehicle deck that just wants to like YOLO a Kylo Ren Starfighter to be able to play it and take advantage of it. So that never came to fruition, but if vehicles ever goes away, like if they ever nerf Ayla, God forbid, there's potential for that kind of strategy to come up. So this is a heavy hitter, obviously. Pirate Speeder Tank costs 5. It's huge, but it has a dope special. Deal 2 damage, give a character 2 shields, and take an additional action. So it represents a 4 damage swing. But then it also just has if you have the battlefield, a 3 shield side. You can kick that indirect up to 6 if you have a resource, 5 if you don't, and 4 direct. So it's just one of those heavy hitters that also has a special and allows like a lot of flexibility. You could even potentially run it in like some kind of a Friends in High Places build. And then the other vehicle that never sees play, but is also really interesting and has this special is absolutely savage. I've played against it and with it in draft, and it's just absolutely gross. You spend 2 resources, but deal damage to a character equal to the damage on them. So you can do upwards of like 6-7 damage depending on the character and really kill them even through shields. And then, of course, it still has the 2 shield side, which is strong. The 2 and 3 direct range damage, which again you can increase with a claim. So she's really flexible, and she could bring some of these cards to the forefront. This is just my initial reactions. I wanted to get this comprehensive list out as soon as possible. I didn't even really think about all of the 3 character combinations that you could do. Like, I wonder if there's even, there's probably not a Hondo one, right? 12 and 10, 8, yeah, no. But I think that these 3 plus like an Arihnda Pryce blue character, like Night Sister or something. Dark Advisor has a special, as we can see. Just makes for some really interesting deck building, which is what I find most interesting about Destiny in the game. It's just like, what can we do? Where can we push the envelope and make an interesting deck? So these were my initial thoughts and just some cards that caught my attention. Obviously, take a look at the comprehensive list. Maybe there's something that jumps out at you that you want to try and give it a shot when Arihnda Pryce drops on TTS and at your FLGS sometime, I don't know, in November or something. We'll see. All right. Thanks for watching, and check us out at thehyperloops.com, twitch.com, twitch.tv/thehyperloops, and basically any social media /thehyperloops that exist. Take it easy, and thanks.